This is going to be a Shadow Arts Dagger Pistol Daredevil full match ranked commentary, and this is pretty much the meta build for Thieves in ranked right now. It just gives you the most survivability, and it's pretty safe because you have the Shadow Arts, which has the Steel giving you stealth, so kind of like you have a third stun break, and you just have a lot of damage that's non-mitigatable because of lifesteal, so it's just really good against bunkers, and it's also sustainable. So in this match, I immediately open for my team on the Core Necro. If you'll see, their team actually has a Tempest and a Core Guard support, so they have two supports in this team fight, and I'm not sure if our Core Guard is a support. They might be a support, but basically we don't really have enough kill potential here. We have a Mesmer and a Thief and no real DPS, so immediately that signals to me that we can't really win this fight, and even if we do get a kill, we don't really have enough sustain to kill two supports afterwards. So immediately that signals to me, just leave this fight. So that's one thing that's really important. I know I've said a lot of times that your role as a thief is to get kills, but you have to be aware of kills that are meaningful. If you get a kill somewhere and it doesn't help your team do anything, then that's a useless kill. So you really have to think about the rotations and what your team needs at the moment. And I landed a really good headshot there on the Tempest, who's going for the Glyph res, so that's really important. And they're going for the second res there, and I steal to them in melee range. So one thing to know there is when you interrupt a skill, it goes on a 4-second cooldown. So when you're trying to play around res skills like that, like Signet or the Glyph, you need to interrupt it and then immediately cleave the body, because there's 4 seconds until they can use it again. So unless you have a secondary interrupt, which you're going to need that too probably as a thief, because you can't just cleave it out that fast unless your team does, you're going to need to interrupt it twice. And as you can see here, we get the decap on mid, but I see that the enemy Druid, and Druid is kind of like a duelist decap build right now. I can't win the 1v1 versus that, so I just let them have that node. Don't get stuck trying to win fights that you can't win, right? So I go to far where my Mesmer is, and there's kill potential with my team, and this is really where I need to be as a thief. You shouldn't be running around by yourself as a thief. You should be supporting your team and supplementing their damage. So in a way, the best place for a thief to be is around their teammates who also deal damage. You don't want to be around supports usually. You want to be around damage because you want to be getting kills, and if you can't get a kill, then usually you'll go for like a decap or something if you're in need. You don't want to go for like a decap as like a play when there's kill potential on the map, but yeah, you will go for one if there's no kill potential on the map. So I look at mid, it's a support and a support on mid, and they're being held by my support guardian, which is pretty good because basically the two supports can't kill my guardian, and my guardian can't kill them. Even if they have the cap there, it's good for us on the map. But their LEIC is going for the buff, so I fight the Tempest 1v1 for the buff, which is really good because I can actually beat a Tempest 1v1 because they're a support. They can't really do anything by themselves. They need their team, really. So I get the buff, I force them off that, and then I chase them into far. I get them down, but the Glyph immediately reses them, but I secure the kill here because I isolate them in roads. So is this kill very meaningful? Yeah, I would say it's pretty meaningful because they were about to come into far and support this duelist. And now, after we kill their support, I can get the kill on their duelist here, and my Weaver can basically get the node. Now, when they fight off node like this, I know that the Druid is just going to survive, so really what I want to do is just get the cap and then let my duelist hold the node. However, they're not really understanding their role here. They need to be standing on the node, and I'm just getting the cap for them. So this is kind of weird. So I stay so that my teammates understand what they need to do. And as soon as I see that my guy is chasing the duelist still, I leave because now it shows me that they understand the situation. So I go into mid, This is another double support situation, so I know I need to go to far. So we're not in a terrible position because our ranger is holding home versus their ranger, and now I'm gonna probably full cap far because, well, I'm actually deciding to decap it and then see what my mesmer's doing. Maybe I'm gonna go for the buff here. So yeah, I'm going for the buff, which means I really want to get kill potential on the map. And this is a pretty good map for Thief because of the buff. It's so accessible to get the damage buff, and then with the damage buff you have a lot of kill potential. So with the damage buff I go into far, and my mesmer realizes we need to play sides finally, and I go in there and get a +1 really good kill, because not only does that get their mesmer off the map, but it gets us far, right? There's a kind of like double value there. I'm not only just killing a high value player on their team, I'm also winning a node, right? If I kill someone who's like a duelist, well, that's not as high value as killing their mesmer. And yeah, if I kill a duelist, that is still getting the node, but it's just killing a duelist, and that's not really that value because it takes a lot of time to do it usually. So getting the kill on the mesmer there is really good. Now we have sides. So our ranger's holding home and our mesmer is holding far with me. We're going to chase this Tempest, and I'm just going to try to get the kill as fast as possible because we know that their mesmer is on respawn. So we're basically trying to hold far, and actually I think that's their ranger is coming for the decap here. So I don't want to give up the decap for free because this ranger is going to fight for their life to basically to keep it. So I hold the node there until my mesmer can get on the node, and then I go to finish off the Ellie so nothing funny happens there. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm basically doing my duelist job, or making their job easier for them. I'm not playing the role of a roamer necessarily. You kind of want to think of the role of roamer as like playing everyone else's role for them and just supplementing their role. So if the DPS's role is to get kills, then I want to get kills for them. If it's the duelist's role to hold nodes, then I want to make sure that they can hold the node. If it's the support's job to prevent my team from dying, then I will split my team, or split the enemy team by going for decaps, right? So there's really no specific role to a roamer other than to like get kills, but those kills aren't too meaningful because a roamer can't really do that much damage in like team fights. So you have to be very kind of like pointed with the kills that you get and make sure that they're meaningful for your team. So I'm just really stressing the point that you're kind of like a support as a thief. You want to do what your team needs at the moment. You don't want to be stuck in 1v1s. You want to be doing what your team needs. So you kind of have to be looking at the map at all times, understanding what your comp is, understanding what their comp is. And at the moment, home is kind of like a stall situation, so I'm just going to +1 far. They have their support on mid, so we're just going to 2v1 this druid, and now I see that the enemy necromancer is coming in, so immediately the necromancer is a good target for me and the mesmer because the druid can't really support the mesmer that well, and mesmer thief can really bully out a necro and just spam CCs on them. So this is a pretty good situation for us. I put down my blinding powder on the node so that my mesmer gets a little bit of peel here, and I get knocked, but yeah, it's completely fine here because the mesmer is not getting pressured then. And yeah, mesmer is kind of like a low sustain 1v1er or duelist, so I am giving them a lot of support here. I'm giving them my signet, I'm blinding the enemies, and that's going to help keep them alive. And I do want to prevent the node from getting decap here, so I'm standing on the node for them until we get the kill. And now we want to go in for the druid. So we're going to 2v1 this, and as you can see, my mesmer is really low HP. I put out Basilisk Venom on the mesmer, and this allows us to stun lock the druid, and we get the kill there, which is really nice. And as you can see, I did like a Heartseeker there as they're going in stealth, so that allows us to get the kill very nicely. We know that the necro is on respawn, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the buff. I could go for a, if it weren't this map, I could go for like a decap or maybe even like a kill on mid, but I can go for the buff, and that's going to help my team a little bit better. Our Ellie's holding home, which is nice, and I'm just going to put a little bit pressure into mid because I see that I think the Necromancer went into mid instead of going into their home node, or the far node for us. So I go to mid to help them, and I've got the buff, so it allows us a lot of kill potential here. All I need to do is interrupt the stomp from the Necro, because the buff will do the work for us. And now we've got a snowball situation, right? So they've probably got respawns. We need to immediately head to far and prevent that decap. So that's what I do. And so I prevent the decap for my Mesmer, and then the Mesmer arrives. So I've basically done their job, or helped them do their job, which is really nice, because getting decapped by this Druid is going to be a lot of like time wasted. And we made a comeback. You know, if we didn't be so very efficient with our rotations here, we wouldn't have this lead that we have right now. But now we're in a 2v3, so the Mesmer and I get off the node, and this is really good because now our team can win the rest of the map, and as long as we don't die here, we can just force the enemy to outnumber us, or we'll get kills. And their Mesmer tries to fight us, and their Necro stands on the node, so we get the focus on the Mesmer, and then we get the focus on the Necro afterwards. So very good coordination from my Mesmer there to understand their role, and I did a very good job of supporting them and coordinating kills with them. So yeah, that is kind of how you need to play as a thief when you have other kinds of squishy but not really tanky comp on your team. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you guys like the video, give it a like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.